This is the Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, Bo Cook from Loan Market, BTZD, the official apparel partner of the Paracave Podcast, and the Parramatta Times, the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and this episode is the replay chat of the chat that I had with the Duckman on Pulse FM, the round review chat on Pulse FM. 89.9 FM on a Sunday night just after 7 p.m. And this week we review round 21 of the NRL, which is coming towards the business end of the season. Every game is a crucial game for the teams in the competition as they want to try and get into that top 8 and into that top 4. And we also chat about round 1 of the NRLW competition, which kicked off this weekend with 4 new teams entering the competition. So here is the chat I have with the Duckman. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you very much for listening, and it's over to you, Duckman.
All right, welcome back to the Weekend Sports Wrap. You are here with the Duckman and special guest Troy Warner from the Paracave Podcast. Troy, how you going?
Going fantastic, Duckman. Just had a great round of footy, both in the NRLW and the NRL as well, and getting down to that business end of the season, as I said, on Friday night, and some crucial wins and losses for teams. So, yeah, great weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did like what I was saying at NRLW now, but 10 teams. They are only playing everybody once, but, you know, a step in the right direction, small steps, and can achieve big goals. So, and there's some good wins in that. We'll look at these games first, and then we'll look at the NRL games afterwards, and chat about everything else going on. So we'll go back to yesterday, and first up, I had the Cowboys take on the Titans, and Titans were at home, actually, and they won 16-6. Did you see any of that game or catch any of the highlights or anything of the game?
Just caught a bit of the highlights of this game, and it was the Cowboys' first game in the new competition. They are one of the new 4 teams in the competition, so they held themselves pretty accountable, and a crowd of nearly 8,000 there on the Gold Coast saw a pretty reasonable game, and the Gold Coast got away with that one 16 points to 6.
Yeah, it was a good result. So Gold Coast will be happy to get the win, and it's good to see the Cowboys, one of the new entities in there, and being competitive. So it's important that they are competitive. We'll roll on to the next game now. So Millie Boyle's side from last year, Newcastle, took on the Dragons. So I thought they might win the comp last year, and they couldn't go on with it. And now Millie Boyle's moved on, but showing a bit of dominance here against the Dragons, who did the Dragons win the comp a couple of years ago? I think they did. 32-16 anyway to the night, so it's a pretty good win. They'll be happy to start off their account with a win.
Yeah, definitely. Last year's premiers started off this season like they did, ended last season. 18-6 at half time, and look, the Knights were always in control of this game, and a pretty good showing from the premiers. Jesse Southwell, again, proving to be one of the great young players in this competition. And the Dragons, look, they'll be disappointed, obviously, about the loss, but they'll roll on to next week.
Yep. And the last game yesterday saw the Broncos host the Roosters, and the Roosters won 36-18. Millie Boyle got a try and was doing one of those try celebrations, and one of the other girls, I don't know if it's Ali Brigginshaw or someone else, smacked the ball out of her hands. So a little bit annoyed about it. I'll probably do the same thing. They're taken in good jest, apparently, and they spoke to each other after the game and hugged it out or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, look, it's a little bit like Reid Marnie a few weeks ago when he was playing the Broncos as well, knocking the ball out of Billy Walters' hands while he was taking the selfie. But look, the competition favourites, I think the Roosters, their star-studded side, and as you said, Millie Boyle has moved to them from the Newcastle Knights, and the Broncos, they've been pretty dominant in this competition for a long time now. They didn't make the semi-finals last year, so they'll be disappointed about that, but they were hoping to get off to a good start, and unfortunately, they lost to the Roosters. Now, an interesting point about this game is Ashley Werner was the first player in NRLW history to be sent off in a game for a biting charge. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens about that. So, unfortunately, a little bit of history in a bad sort of light there. So we'll just have to wait and see what sort of suspension she gets, because I think the last person in the NRL who got a suspension for biting was, I think, 4 or 5 weeks. And
James Graham.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure who it was, but it was 4 to 5 weeks, and in this NRLW competition, that's half the competition. So just have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, that's right. So I remember James Graham doing it against Billy Slater. So I would have beat Billy Slater, as you tell you, annoys me. So I wouldn't have hidden it. I would have been straight up front about it. Yep, I did that. So, and as I say, if you can't beat them, eat them. So may as well get stuck in. So let's have a crack. You don't want to see people fighting up people. So don't advocate that in particular. Luis Suarez, he's done it a few times in soccer. So I may or may not have done that as well. Never been suspended for it, I can tell you that, but may or may not have done that myself. So I'll continue on. Next game, so the Eels today hosted West Tigers. Eels were in the grand final last year as well against Newcastle. They did lose. I did hear him talk on Big Sports Breakfast the other day. They turned over a stack of players this year in this side. So they only had 4 players from last year's team. They're bringing Mahalia Murphy from the Wallaby side as well, the Wallaroos, exceptional Australian women's rugby team in New South Wales. So she's a superstar. I watched the game. Watched the second half of the game anyway, and West Tigers just completely dominated. What did they come back from 8-4 halftime deficit or something to put on 32 points in the second half and win the game? They looked outstanding.
Yeah, they really blew Parramatta off the park. Botul very well. She scored the first try for the Tigers in the game, and they got off to a great start with that try. And it was great to see Bo back into the NRLW after suffering that ACL injury last year, which kept her out for this whole season. And now she's at the West Tigers. She was one of those players that did leave the Parramatta Eels, and but then Parramatta turned it around. 2 tries to Zali Faye, and Parramatta went into half-time 8-4 in front. So it was a pretty physical game, and some of the, actually, after Zali's tries, some of the post-try celebrations were absolutely outstanding. There was a freeze frame one, and there was a limbo one as well. So Zali was the limbo bar, and the players went under, and it was great. Obviously raising money through Sportsbet for the for Daniel Anderson and Nathan Stapleton as well. So great to see that one. But the West Tigers, one of the new teams in the competition, one of the 2 that got a victory this weekend. They had pretty much a lot of experience through their side, but definitely in that second half they were just finding gaps, and the defence lacked a little bit in the Eels side, and they subsequently scored tries and blew it away.
Yeah, well, thankfully for the Eels, are a young side, so they'll be able to build and develop, even with like Mahalia Murphy picking up for a Wallaroos. So she is relatively new to league, has played it before, has played in NRLW before, actually, St George Illawarra as well. But 29, so she'll be one of the older players in the side there, Mahalia. They have got a youthful team, so it's a side they can build and work with over the next couple of years. I think we'll see a bit of stability in sides and players moving around in the next couple of years. Now, I don't think they're going to have an influx of new teams for a couple of years. Probably a good idea. Let the competition settle, develop, and then bring a couple more in, filter them in slowly. Otherwise, you're going to have like blowouts to the max, and that's not good for the game. The next game had the Sharkies up against the Raiders, and the Sharks also a new side and the Raiders, and the Sharks got up 28-14. Now it's a good win for them as well today.
Yeah, I had this one on the split screen on the TV whilst the Panthers and Bulldogs game was happening at the same time. So I was watching both at the same time. But yeah, the Sharks, another new team in the competition, got their first win in this competition, and against the Raiders, it was a pretty reasonable game. There was some big hits, some great tries, and look, I think the class of the Sharks players that they have just really shone in this game, and they were sort of never looking like they were going to lose. Emma Tonegado scored their first try, so a little bit of trivia there for anyone out there. And then, Tiana Penatani scored tries. Quincy Dodd got a double, and the front rower Ellie Johnston got a great try, a bit of a 25-metre runaway effort. So it was great to see that. But the Raiders, look, it was their first game in the competition. And look, they won't be disappointed about that one. Obviously they will be disappointed they lost, but they'll just move on to next week and try and learn from this game.
Yeah, you can learn and build and move on and move forward. So didn't mention before as well, but Brett Kamali, so I didn't realise this is the coach of the NRLW side for West Tigers, so that's good achievement for Brett. They'd be happy about that as well. So I'm not sure who the coaches are of the other teams, but he'll be happy. So it's good to get to dip his toe in the coaching game. It's difficult coaching women, even at a professional level. So you just got different issues, deal with regularly. It meant that they don't have the same high performance standard. In particular, they do the same stuff, but the guys get busted pretty hard, so it's a different thing. We'll roll on to the NRL games now. So back on Thursday, the Dragons took on West Tigers and got up 18-14. You had to think about this anymore, so I'm pretty happy. I think the Dragons, being behind at halftime, I think they helped them because I think West Tigers thought they had it done. They weren't up by a lot at halftime. It was like 12-6 or whatever it was. But it maybe put them in a false sense of belief in the game.
Yeah, look, they were 2 points behind at half time. It was 14-12 to the Tigers, and they obviously had a good sort of roasting in the sheds, I guess, the Dragons at half time, and come out and have won the game and kept the Tigers scoreless. So, and there was only one try scored in the second half. So a bit of a downer of a game, but two teams that are struggling this year, and the Tigers, they're looking like they'll be on the bottom of the ladder again for the second year in a row.
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, Tigers board said there's been a few eruptions. Lee Hadjipantelis was firing shots the other day across the bow of people and that stuff. It's unravelling now. It's not good to see. It looks pretty ugly. There's a bit of ugly stuff going on. I did hear that Justin Pascoe managed to get Benji Marshall. So some egos at play here too. So they to put the egos aside, it's going to be a problem. Scott Fulton's been employed to be like their rugby league recruitment manager, and then Benji Marshall goes, no, I want this guy, and Scott Fulton apparently, I'm not saying eye to eye, and he's going to get other people. I've been told that's not the case. Benji Marshall wants to just do all of it himself, and he's been told, toe the line or you're gone. Pasco's been told, fix it or you're gone. And seriously, someone just needs to get the broom and sweep the lot. The only one I'd probably keep at the moment, I can tell you, I would be seeing and Benji Marshall a whole lot at the moment. I'd bring in another coach, be looking at Griffin or Potter, and go start again. New thing. This is completely not working. If it goes bad again next year, how can Benji Marshall, Robbie Farah possibly be taking that job if they came last again? Number two, how could Tim Sheens possibly keep his job under the same circumstances?
Yeah, well, at the moment, the Tigers are a circus at the moment, off the field especially, as you said, with all these people involved in different positions, and to have a coaching plan like they do at the Tigers, we've never ever seen it before anywhere else, where a coach has been appointed for 2 years out, and obviously at the moment Tim Sheens is the coach. and it's been said that Benji does a lot of the on-field training sessions, and Tim just stands in the background and coaches when he needs to. And then Tim is the face of the media when it comes to games, and he'll be around next year, apparently, allegedly, for that's what his contract says, and that's what Lee Hadja-Pantela says is that's his contract. So he'll be the head coach again next year, and then Benji takes over in 2025. So it's a very messy situation, a really unique situation, and as I said, one we haven't seen before. And the quicker they get that sorted out with just maybe one head coach and assistant coaches, well, then that'll be a lot better and get everyone on the same page, and then hopefully start to move forward. This is going to be most likely their second spoon in a row. Obviously, no club wants to win the spoon, if you can call it winning. And so they need to do something, and they probably need to do something fast. And otherwise, they're not going to get the players to the club that they want to get to try and get them out of this situation. Yeah,
that's right. I don't think they can afford to get the spoon again. That's going to be catastrophic next year. So I'd say it's nearly a fait accompli. They're going to do it this year. Lee Hadja-Pantela, he is pretty forthright about what he wants. I just don't see how it works. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. The whole thing is not going to work. So if they pick up a spoon, imagine they get it again next year, and then what, you're going to take the coaches you've had effectively working nearly as assistant head coaches, they're going to lead you into the year after. If they got the spoon again, how long do you sit on it before they get a spoon and they might actually get moved on? It just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. So there's big problems there that needs to get fixed. We'll roll on to the next game anyway, because we could be talking about that for like hours.
I hope not, because, I mean, as I said, it's a circus and just needs to be sorted out.
Yeah, 100%. So this next game, this is a thriller, this one, the Warriors against the Raiders. So we did predict I did predict the Warriors would beat the Raiders. Didn't think it'd be this close, 21-20. I was surprised the Raiders took it all the way to the end. So they did a really good job, and the Warriors managed to show some resolve and hang in and get the points.
Yeah, look, this one was almost like a semi-final game, to be honest, and we were on air at the time when it was playing out, and the Warriors, they were 14-6 at half-time in front, and we thought they were taking control of the game, and all of a sudden it just turned, and the Raiders, they scored the last 3 tries of the game, 2 of which were in the last 2 minutes of the game. It got to 20 points to all, and then Jared Croker had a chance from the sideline to convert Jack Whiten's try to win the game 22-20, but unfortunately he missed that conversion and the game went to golden point, and Sean Johnson kicks that winning field goal, and just shows you how good of a season he is having. There was a bit of a controversial moment during the game, of which Ricky Stewart came out in the press conference and said that he can't believe that it was not a penalty try and was called no try, and that's when Sebastian Chris got the ball off a kick from Jamal Fogarty, and Dallin Watene-Zelezniak is looked like he's caught him high and the ball's been dislodged, but there was no penalty given or no penalty try given. So Ricky was a little bit upset about that one, but unfortunately he just has to cop the loss, and the Warriors, they move up into 3rd position on the ladder now, and looking like they might get a home semi-final, which any team would not want to play them over in New Zealand come semi-final time.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a fair debate about whether there's some precedence there too. So a case at hand, Jamie Ainscough, 1999 grand final, when he whacked, who did he hit with the high tackle?
Craig Smith, I think, from Melbourne.
Craig Smith, when he's going over the try line to score, and effectively nearly knocked him out. He dropped the ball. It was a penalty try. So was it an 8-point try itself, or was it a try with 2 conversions right in front? I can't remember.
8-point try, I think it was.
Yeah. It turned the grand final, so the Dragons were red hot favourites, and Melbourne Storm got the win after that. So Glenn Lazarus became the first person ever, or first prop ever anyway, to win 3 grand finals at 3 different clubs. So Broncos, Canberra, and also with Melbourne Storm. So that will be unsurpassed, that one. It will take a long time or someone can do that, and is one of the best props of all time. So it's another blast from the past for me to try to get on the brick with wires. So.
Yeah, Lazo. I think he's turned into politics now. A politician, I think. I think he's still doing that. I'm not 100% sure, but he definitely was doing it a few years ago. But champion player.
I hope he's not a politician, because he'll be terrible to interview if he does. He'll give us all these vanilla answers about everything. So maybe tell us what he thinks. So, but we'll see. I'll try to chase him up. The Rabbitohs against the Broncos is the next game. So did predict that the Broncos would get the win. Bigger than what I thought, actually, 36 points to 20. I think they really dominated, because I caught this game at the bowling club after the show, and the Broncos looked very good.
Yeah, up at Sunshine Coast Stadium, and the Rabbitohs, they started off really well. Alex Johnston scored the first try, and it became his 181st try, I think it was, and outright third on the NRL try scoring list, or rugby league try scoring list of all time. So he's now in equal 30. He overtook Steve Menzies on that list, and 14-12 at half time. He thought still anybody's game at this point, but the Broncos, they came out in the second half and just really dominated that game. Reece Walsh, he's having a great season. It was his first game back since suspension for back-chatting, swearing at a referee. Katoni Staggs scored a double. Adam Reynolds got a try as well and kicked 6 goals. A controversial moment that came out of this game was Martin Tapau. He was sin binned for raising the knee into Campbell Graham on a kick-off return, I think it was. Very ugly incident, and Campbell's lucky not to have a broken jaw, because it didn't quite connect with his jaw. But Big Marty was sin binned and is now facing 3 weeks on the sideline. So a little bit of a brain explosion, you could say. I think the NRL had been in contact with him during the week about his running style, and it's just something that I haven't seen before, and now he's going to sit 3 weeks out. But the Broncos, they march on, and it looks like it's a 2-horse race at the moment, with the Broncos and the Panthers up there 1 and 2 on the ladder.
So I have to say, there's a lot of Polynesian guys I've coached in rugby and coached against who they have this style. So I think it's kind of their normal runner style. And they get told, harder to tackle if you lift your legs a bit higher. So they actually change their runner style. So that becomes the norm. It does. It's very hard to change something if you've done it since you were young. Will he change it? Well, it's a bit like Super League. There's a few people who do that stuff in Super League. I remember Kevin Sinfield did something like that as well. Seinfeld, we'll see how that all goes. He does need to change his runner style 100%. So who was another Warriors player did that years ago too, running like that a bit, and it's not flash and need to change it. People will get seriously injured, so he's a good player. Made an error of judgment, does need to fix that. Let's see how that will go moving forward. Next game, so this one surprised me, to be honest with you. I didn't think, knew the Roosters had the firepower, but just thought they just look like they're on summer vacation or something. They're in the wrong place at the moment mentally. Titans against the Roosters, and the Roosters got up and whacked them 36-18 in Gold Coast too. So surely Gold Coast had a bit more to play for than getting done like that.
Yeah, for sure. It was a crucial game for both sides with their position on the ladder and trying to stay in touch with that top 8. So both teams need the win. The Roosters have got their winning edge over the Titans. I think they've won the last 8 out of 9 or 9 out of 10 against them. And they just really blew them away in that first half. It was 30-0 at half time, and you thought, wow, what's going on? Where has this been all year for the Roosters? And it was a defining game, I think, for them in their season. As I said, they stay in touch with the top 8. James Tedesco scored a try and did a post-try celebration, and He had a hand in a couple of other tries, and it was good to see that he had a good game after the week before, where he was criticised by some for going away to Byron Bay, but he came back and just really had a world-class game and helped the Roosters to the win. They're probably a little bit disappointed that they let 18 points in the second half, and they only scored 6 themselves, so probably a little bit disappointed about that. But for them, at least they got the 2 points, and they're closer to that top 8, and their season just isn't over yet. For the Titans, they'll be really disappointed about that. They've had a couple of close games the past previous weeks. 1 point loss to Parramatta the week, and then a 2 point loss to the Dolphins the week before that. And to be 30-0 at halftime, you thought, well, this is going to be very difficult for them to come back. But they scored 3 tries, converted by Jaden Campbell, and you thought maybe they could come back, but they didn't, and now it's looking like a bit of a mathematical thing to come into the top 8.
Yeah, so I don't think they're going to get there. They've got the players and the firepower to do it. I just think it's like too big a task. So, yeah, Gold Coast, I'm surprised that you can get done like that when they had everything to play for, really. We'll see where that goes from here. We'll look at the table after this too, and give people a picture of the landscape of what the comp looks like at the moment. The next game, so I can tell you, when I was saying the other day I thought Melbourne would win, I was thinking, Knights could possibly do it. And then when I watched them actually do it, they dismantled Melbourne pretty hard yesterday, really. I was surprised. Kalen Ponga had a good game, and the Knights got the win 26-18. Were you surprised to see that?
I was, considering Kalen Ponga hasn't beaten the Storm in 7 years, and he got the win against them last night, and had a pretty starring part in it as well. Like we've been saying, since he hasn't played Origin this year, he's really concentrated on his Knights football, and it's helped them get wins. And this was a big result for Newcastle. Again, they stay in contact with the top 8 as well. Melbourne already in there, but they'll be disappointed about this loss to Newcastle. They started off really well. It was 12-0 after 8 minutes, so you thought, okay, here we go. It could be a cricket score, being 12-0. Melbourne were in control, but to Newcastle's credit, they dug deep, they hung in there, they got the points they needed, they were winning at half-time, and they just held on. And I think that home crowd advantage as well really got them across the line. And one of their last try to Matt Croker was just shows you the determination to win, because there was off a kick and the ball looked like it was going out, and he only just got it down before the dead ball line, and just showed you the competitiveness and just didn't give up and wanted to score that try. And that's why they got the win over the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah, 100%. So the home crowd fans definitely helped get them over the line, definitely. It's good to see Adam O'Brien was pretty happy. I'm still not disappointed that I pegged him to be the first case to get sacked. If they had a bad start, he was gone. So
yeah,
they were going to get rid of him. Anthony Griffin managed to make sure the Dragons had a bad start and stuff like that. That's why I just have troubles with this West Tigers thing. So they have had a bad season, and they're all like, nothing's going to change. Like, really, I'm surprised. The next game, Cowboys and the Eels. So Cowboys got a win there. I predicted that. Thought that was good. 100% I know you didn't predict it. Mitchell Moses, did he have a good game or not? So they went down 24-16. I thought he looked flat.
He was in and out of the game, I think. It was a very tough game. The Cowboys were always going to be hard to beat up there. I think the humidity played a part, and the Cowboys, they got off to a good start. They scored the first couple of tries. Then Parramatta hit back, but it looked like the Cowboys were in control all game. The left-hand defence of Parramatta was missing. They had Wonga Blake called into the game for the suspended Mike Acevo, and he was out of position a few times, had to come in and defend on the centre, and then left himself wide open. Mitchell Moses, well, he scored a couple of tries there towards the end. There was a glimmer of hope for Parramatta right at the end with the Mitchell Moses, Clint Gutherson show. They combined for a couple of tries to Mitchell, which he converted. And the controversial moment in this game was Valentine Holmes put a shot on Mitchell Moses. So the Cowboys were down to 12 men just before half-time and then just after half-time. So Parramatta couldn't capitalise on that by scoring any points, which was disappointing. They would have liked to have scored some points while he was in the sin bin. But look, a tough loss for Parramatta. The Cowboys, they move into the top 8 for the first time this year. They're now in 7th position and 6 wins in a row. So they're really holding their own. They're getting back to that 2022 form. They're holding their defence. Scott Drinkwater, he's one of the reasons why this team is going so well. He was just in everything, and yeah, they got the win and they march into the top 8, and Parramatta, they hang in the 8th position, and just by 4 and against, so they'll be disappointed about that game. Another thing for Parramatta is Sean Lane dislocated elbow last night, so unfortunately...
That looked so bad.
Yeah,
that looked so bad.
Yeah, it did. Unfortunately for Sean, another injury he has suffered this year, along with the broken jaw and the hamstring that he's had, so he's had an injury interrupted season, so it did look bad. He might be missing 3 to 4 weeks, possibly longer, so that's another blow to Parramatta, with obviously Michael Sevo still out, suspended, RCG suspended, and Dylan Brown's out for another 2 weeks. I think he comes back in 2 weeks, so he's got one more game, which is next week against Melbourne Storm, and then he comes back against the Dragons, so still missing a lot of people, the Parramatta Eels, so it's going to be a tough month of football for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sean Lane, for anyone who doesn't know, up to the grand final last year, had a bit of a quieter grand final, but in the lead up to that, he's one of Parramatta's best players all year, along with Dylan Brown, helped get him there, along with Mitchell Moses and other players they had as well. So it's an outstanding player. It's going to be a big loss. Scott Drinkwater up to, I didn't see this stat until I was sitting there watching it at the pub last night. It's got the lead number of assists in the NRL for tries, so surprised me. He got played a match too, I think, but he was good. He was very good last night. People don't really rate him that much, but one of these guys, a bit of a quiet achiever, does a lot of stuff, and probably not going to make you rep teams and that sort of stuff, but he's a guy you can bank the team on for sure, and he'll always get the job done in pretty good fashion.
I think he was in the New South Wales squad for Game 3 of the Origin series, so that little bit of experience of being in and around a representative team would have done him wonders. A few people have touted him as possibly the Dally M winner of this year, so we just have to wait and see. Now, obviously 6 weeks of the competition still to go, so we'll just have to wait and see that one, but a lot of people are saying just his form in this period, the Origin period, and also now, he could possibly be the Dally M winner of the season.
Oh yeah, he'd be up there getting points for Cowboys all the time too if he keeps doing stuff like that. The try assists, they don't go unnoticed 100% for sure. So he's good. Let's see how far he does go in the comp this year. Panthers took on the Bulldogs. They got up 44-18. We did predict they'd get the win. I'm a bit surprised Penrith blew it out like they did. They're going through the motions. Very good. The try celebration Brian did. Who was that with? Dylan Edwards.
I think it was
the Titanic one.
Yeah, I think it was Liam Martin. I think he was holding him up. But yeah, Titanic. That was quite clever.
Yeah, hilarious stuff. And then Brian was pretending to swim through the air. Different stuff. So I think the Panthers were good. So what did you make of the Bulldogs in that game?
Well, again, as I said, I had this on the split screen with the NRLW game going on, so I was watching both at the same time, and just watching it, and watching the score go up, it looked like it was a little bit of a training run for the Panthers. They were 28-6 at half time, and I thought, well, this could be anything. They might put 50 or 60 on the Bulldogs, but look, the Bulldogs, they're struggling this year. There was so much hope for them at the start of the year to improve on last year, but just recently they've had some big scores put against them, and which is unfortunate because I think their coach, Cameron Ciraldo, is known as a bit of a defensive coach, and they're letting in a lot of points at the moment. So a lot of soul-searching, unfortunately, for the Bulldogs. And the Panthers, as I said, they roll on and top of the ladder at the moment, looking for another minor premiership. And the return of Nathan Cleary in his 150th NRL game, so congratulations to Nathan on that stat. And yeah, they had a good crowd there, and yeah, as I said, they just roll on.
Yeah, that's right. So part of the problem I think the Bulldogs might have here is they got some good outside backs now. They've got Stephen Crichton coming in next year, but losing Kikau, so he's out for a fair while too, isn't he? So that's a big loss because I think they lack a little bit of firepower up in the forwards. If they can get that right, you can see they're down there at the bottom of the comp too for people who want to know, but we will go through the table.
There was talk that he was going to be back this week against his old club, but he didn't make it back, so maybe he might be back next week or the week after.
Yeah, it'd be getting closer. So I think they need to load up a couple of middle-edge forwards, a couple of big guys up front as well. Get that right on top of what they're trying to build, and they will get, hopefully next year they'll be a lot more competitive, particularly with Stephen Crichton. And, we'll talk about some other stuff that's come up in the news too after we look at this next game. So Sharkies, I read some stats about the Sharks today. They weren't good. So Sharkies took on the Seagulls today and went down 30-26. Miles behind us, 22-6 or 22-8 or something like that at half time. But they were done. And then Seagulls got 30 and just went cue in the rack. And then Sharks came back, but they leave it all too late all the time. And the stats said in the last 5 years, I was reading it all, well, they're in the bottom 3 or 4 clubs in the NRL for wins against top 8 sides. How is that? Well, just blows me away. I can't understand and fathom how that happened, yet they've been up in the top 8 in the last 5 years as well, most of the time.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? It actually blew out to 30-0, and had the Sharks have won, because they obviously came back, it would have been the biggest comeback in NRL history, but it wasn't to be. But just getting back to your point there, they win the games against the lower place sides, and they can jag a couple of wins against the top sides, not very many by those stats, and that's how they get their points. Sea Eagles, they weren't a top 8, they're not a top 8 side at the moment, and they were favourites to beat this team today at Shark Park, their home stadium, and Manly, they just came out and they just blew Sharks off the park. They just confidence and got some great tries, and the Sharks, I don't know what they were doing at half time. They must have had a massive rev up from Craig Fitzgibbon about what's going on. I actually can't I can't visualise Craig Fitzgibbon giving a blow-up session in the sheds, actually. I don't know how angry he could get. I don't think he could get like Craig Bellamy style in the sheds. But Manly, they held on, and the Sharks, they scored 3 tries in the last 4 minutes, and they had an opportunity to actually win the game with one of the last sets of the game. There was a kick put up, and it bounced, and Will Kennedy got the ball, and had he have either passed it to his left or kicked it to the left, then Mulatalo...
They score and win.
Well, they score, and Nico Hines has a chance to win the game for them, which would have been amazing. Watching the game, I thought the Sea Eagles have got this wrapped up, but they came back, and unfortunately he put the kick in for himself, I think it was, and Manly ended up getting the ball, and then they got a penalty, and they wrapped up the game there. So a crucial win for Manly. They still sort of stay in touch with the top 8, but the Sharks, they're in danger now of missing the top 8. They're still there, but they're losing these games and they're slowly slipping down the ladder.
Yeah, so they just can't afford to keep doing this all the time. They're going to wipe them out of the comp straight away. So and they'd turn that around. We'll have a look at the comp. Actually, we'll talk about the other things first. So Jerome Luai came out today. He's split with his management team and has dropped a couple of sponsors in the last couple of weeks or something as well. So people think that spells bad news for Penrith, and he might look at moving on here and chase the big money. It's going to be on offer, and it's very likely to see himself end up at the Bulldogs too. So if I can't see how that logically works. If he does go to the Bulldogs, what is he going to be to number 7? Does that mean you bought Toby Sexton for no reason, or you play him 6 and then move Matt Burton to 4 or 3? So I can't see how that mix would work. So, but surely there'd be a lot of clubs who are very interested in Jerome Luai if he becomes available. If he went to West Tigers, I'll tell you right now, if he goes to West Tigers for any reason, at any time in the next couple of years, I'll do a speedo. I'll ride in me pudgy smugglers around Glenmore Park on my push bike. So, it's not going to happen.
Okay, yeah, let's hope the Tigers don't sign him, because I don't want to see that. I don't think the listeners want to see that either. But just quietly, but it's all good. Yeah, he did split with his management in the news, and I think the Panthers want to try and keep him, but he's going to have to stay there on unders. I think they're trying to get the money together for Dylan Edwards to sign him up. So Nathan Cleary's come out after the game and said that he would like to see him stay there. And, it's an interesting choice what he's going to do now, because he's won a couple of competitions. He's played State of Origin. He can get the big money at other clubs. And, is that the desired option for him? As I said, he's already won a couple of competitions, and that's what players play the game for, is to win competitions. So what could be the next challenge for him? Do you go to a struggling club on big money and try and improve their position on the ladder and try and get them to play semi-finals and then maybe try to win a competition? Maybe that's the challenge that he's after. So it's going to be interesting to see who wants to get him at their club and how much they're willing to pay for him. And there may be a glimmer of hope for Panther fans anyway, that he stays there for unders. I think he'll chase the money, to be honest.
Yeah, it'll be pretty hard to stay for unders, because I think at Penrith at the best he's probably going to get about 800,000. Someone will pay him $1 million, 100%. He's good enough to get it. He's good enough to be a match winner to do stuff. So he does say a bit of stuff that grinds with people, grinds their gears. I think he's got the ability to win your premiership with your team if you've got the right balance of stuff. Probably need to put a couple of guys around him that are going to work with him. Don't need to be Panthers players, but you'll need to massage that a little bit to make it work. You're going to need a couple of big guys in your team to really dominate the middle of the field too. He did it with Samara in the World Cup, so I wouldn't say it's beyond the realms of possibility there.
It certainly would be interesting if he did go to the Bulldogs, because then you've got obviously Steve Crichton, Matt Burton, Viliami Kikau, Cameron Ciraldo, the coach. So there's a bit of a Panther influence there.
Yeah, Canterbury Panthers.
Yeah.
So, they've got to do what's best for them. I'm not sure they'd be the only club, but they'd be the most likely to be able to get him. So I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't see him going to the logical ones that have got the money, the Dragons and also West Tigers. West Tigers, maybe. Even though I said, it's unlikely that, if they need to fix the coaching thing, or no one's going to go there. So They're going to just get the guys that are fringe players, unfortunately. So, wow, that needs to be fixed. Right, so the table looks like this at the moment, NRL. Everyone's played, I'm not even going to go through the games. I've got Panthers on top on 32 points at 229 differential in favour. Broncos second on 32, 131 there. The Warriors third on 28. Storm fourth on 28. Raiders fifth on 28. Sharks are sixth on 26. So if they had a won today, at their points differential 102, would have put them in the fourth. So that was a big loss. It's going to hurt them, and they're on the slide. So, and then to turn it around and do it quickly. The Cowboys are on the way up, so around 26th in 7th. The Eels are a bit like the Sharks at the moment, so they're either going to make it or not quite make it at the moment. Their points differential is pretty good, 89. They're sitting on 24 points. The Rabbitohs also on 24. They're on 76 differential. Knights are in 10th now, so and I pegged them to seriously come last or second last on 23 points. The Roosters are in 11th on 22. The Dolphins, I'd say their season this is going to be where they're going to end up finishing about 12th. They're on 22 as well. Seagulls are 13th on 21, so maybe they can jump the Dolphins here. Titans are now on the slide, so they're into 14th, down 20 points. I don't think Des Hasler will be too disappointed wherever they're sitting. They've got some all right players, but they're just not consistent enough. So they're all right before they moved Justin Holbrook on. So since that, they lost their way a bit. Dragons 15th on 16, along with the Bulldogs, who are in 16th on 16, and West Tigers are last at the moment on 12. So they're not going to get out of that, I don't think. I do think the Bulldogs get a couple more wins. Dragons might get another win or two, and they'll get up around the 20-point mark. But West Tigers, it wouldn't surprise me if they don't get another win at all. And if they do, they might get another one. So they're lucky they got a stack of bye points in there, because otherwise they'd only be on 6 points. And that is the problem. Who do you see moving up, dropping in and out? So it's going to move around a little bit now the next couple of weeks, I imagine. Who do you think is going to come in or drop out of the 8 that's not there now?
Yeah, look, it's very interesting. I think anyone from 12th up, or from 9th to 12th, could make the 8. The Cowboys and Eels on Cowboys on 26, Eels on 24. They've got a bye in hand, as do the Rabbitohs, who are on 24 as well. So that's a little bit of a saving grace for them. But I think the Roosters on 22 points, behind them, I don't think you'll make the 8. The Roosters are going to struggle to make the 8. Possibly from the Sea Eagles and Knights, they may, but they're going to have to win all their games, as will the Roosters anyway as well. They've got a big test this weekend against the Broncos, so again, another grand final for them. So, look, the Sharks, as I said, they're on the slide at the moment. The Raiders are on 28 points. They got a differential of minus 56, so that's going to
hurt them badly.
Potentially, if they don't win games. So they'll just be concentrating on winning games. They got Newcastle this week, who are in a little bit of form, and a crunch game for them in their season, so they'll want to get that one. So, look, it's still, every week now for some teams is like a grand final. They just have to get that win and slide in. So you would think maybe the Rabbitohs might get in, and the Sharks or the Eels might slip out.
Yeah, so that's what I could say. The only other side in the top 8 there, and they're in 5th, that probably is going to potentially drop the ball here is the Raiders. If they drop a few games and you get Rabbitohs, Knights, or so you rely on the Rabbitohs will probably do it, but Knights and Roosters, rely on them to be consistent and get wins when they haven't done it against the top 8 sides either. The Rabbitohs probably will. So someone out of that lot, more than likely the Eels or Sharks will drop out. Sharks are on the slide. If they don't turn it around, their season's gone. The Eels are hit and miss week in, week out. They need to turn that and make that more hit every week. Paracade Podcast, what do you got coming up this weekend? This week, what do you got coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, so replay of this chat with yourself, Duckman, and then tipping podcast will come out. And then we'll see if I can get an interview on Thursday. If not, I'll just roll on with the Brian Smith interview, the 200th episode with that one, getting a pretty good response with that one, so pretty happy about that. And then we'll roll into the weekend. So, yeah, a little bit there, here and there. Stay tuned to the socials about that one. And, yeah, available on Apple and Spotify and all other good podcast platforms.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much, Troy, for that, and we'll chat to you again next Friday night.
Thank you very much, Duckman. Have a good weekend.
Absolutely will do, and chat to you then. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.